CreepyCorner stories.
Hey folks, before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to give a huge thank you to Kieran Tibbetts, Lisa Collin, 85, and Dark Impulse for supporting the channel and being amazing members. So if you enjoy what you hear tonight, grab your headphones, turn off the lights, and let's step into another amazing night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment below. I hired someone on the dark web to kill my brother. He used spiders the same way my brother did to me. A favor for a favor. Okay, so before I get into this, I want to just say I'm not proud of any of this. I'm not looking for sympathy. I don't want anyone to message me and be like, dude, are you okay? I'm not. But I also know I probably deserve whatever's coming next. What happened to my brother was messed up, but what he did to me, no one, and I mean no one, should go through that. This all started in 2019, back when TikTok was just blowing up, and everyone thought VS Code girls were a serious personality trait. I was 17, living in a small-ass apartment with my mom and my older brother Caleb in Jacksonville, Florida. You know that feeling where something just festers for years in silence until it explodes? That's what our house felt like. Caleb was 22 at the time, just graduated college, and thought he was a god. Like, if you've ever met someone who walks around like the world owes them a standing ovation, that was him. The type to flex his GPA while still asking you to Venmo him for gas. But underneath all that was something darker, something cold. The kind of guy who could look you dead in the eye, lie through his teeth, and sleep like a baby after. People called him charismatic, but I knew better. I lived with him. And here's the part where things start getting weird. He used to collect spiders, like actual tarantulas. I swear to God, he had this glass terrarium thing on his desk with heat lamps and everything, and he'd name them after women. I'm not even joking. One was Jessica, another was Lacey. Like, who does that? He said it was for stress. But if you've ever woken up at 3 a.m. with one of them crawling across your chest, yeah, not very stress relieving. I tried telling Mom once, but she said I was being dramatic. Caleb was her golden boy. I was just moody. Classic. Then it escalated. It was the summer before I turned 18, and I came home from working a shift at McDonald's one night, my uniform still smelling like burnt fryer oil, and found my bedroom door locked, which is weird because I never locked it. I knock, no answer. I knock again, harder, and then I hear it, the sound I will never forget, this whispery clicking noise, like 1,000 little teeth chattering at once. I finally shoulder the door open and step in, and my entire ceiling was moving. Dozens of spiders, not just the fat, hairy tarantulas Caleb kept in his room, but smaller ones, black widows, brown recluses, wolf spiders, crawling across my ceiling, my walls, my goddamn bed. My laptop was covered, my mirror, even my toothbrush. It was like someone took a bucket of nightmares and just dumped it everywhere. I screamed so loud, I swear the neighbors thought I got murdered. Caleb came in laughing, not like a ha-ha prank laugh. I mean like wheezing, red-faced, eyes-watering laugh. All I did was leave your window open, bro, he said, holding up his phone to record me. Florida's wild, huh? Yeah, except I checked the window. It was nailed shut, from the inside. I stayed at my friend Marcus's house for like 2 weeks after that. Told my mom it was because I needed space. She never really asked questions, She never asked questions. It kept happening. Sometimes I'd come home and find just one spider in my bed or on my pillow. Sometimes nothing. Sometimes I'd wake up and find Caleb staring at me from his room across the hall, standing perfectly still like something out of a horror game, just staring, like he was waiting for something. That's when I started looking into the deep web. It started off innocent, curiosity mostly, watching those animated horror story videos on YouTube late at night with headphones in. You know the ones. Here's My Story, 1Z, MJV, all those channels that make you think twice about opening your closet. I downloaded Tor, got on a few forums, asked vague questions like, has anyone ever dealt with a psycho sibling? Or, what happens if you need someone gone? Most people ignored me. A few replied with memes. One person, though, DM'd me directly. Their username was Cotton Teeth. Yeah, real comforting name. I almost blocked them right away, but the message was just one sentence. What he does to you, I can do to him. A favor for a favor. That's it. No greeting, no threats, just that. I didn't reply right away. I sat on it for days, rereading that sentence like it held some secret I hadn't cracked yet. I clicked their profile. No photos, no history, but their bio. We eat what creeps. We sting what stung. The exact phrase Caleb had stitched on a patch above his spider tank. What the hell? I don't know why I replied. Maybe it was desperation. Maybe I just wanted to feel like someone was listening. I messaged them. What kind of favor? Their reply came instantly. You'll know when the time comes. Just say yes. I stared at the screen. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. The room felt cold, like someone had opened a window, even though all of them were shut. I typed, yes, and then everything changed. Edit. Also, no, I didn't make this up. I wish I did. Terms of service. I didn't hear from Cotton Teeth for 3 days after that. No typing bubbles, no follow-ups, nothing. At first, I thought I'd imagined the whole thing, like maybe it was just another late-night spiral, fueled by energy drinks and too many true crime videos, autoplaying on YouTube. I even tried logging back into Tor to see if the message thread was still there. It was gone. Not deleted, not inactive, just absent, like it had never existed in the first place. That should have been the moment I stopped. Normal people would have taken that as a sign. But once an idea gets planted in your head, especially a violent, desperate one, it grows roots fast. You don't pull it out, you water it. Caleb started acting different around that time. Not nicer, not meaner, just alert. Like prey that knows something's stalking it, but doesn't know where from. He stopped leaving his door open, took his spider tanks out of his room, started sleeping on the couch with the TV on, volume low, tuned to those late-night reruns on Adult Swim that feel like fever dreams. One night, I walked past him and caught him flinching when I cleared my throat. That felt good. Then the package arrived. No return address, no shipping label, just a plain brown box sitting on our kitchen counter when I got home from Starbucks, where I'd been working the closing shift. Mom wasn't home. Caleb was out with friends. The box was addressed to me, handwritten, neat, careful. Inside was an old prepaid Android phone, one of those cheap ones people use for burner accounts. No SIM card visible, no brand markings, just a black screen. When I turned it on, it didn't ask me to set anything up. No Google account, no language selection. It went straight to a single app, a chat window, Cotton Teeth. You agreed. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. I typed back, "What is this?" The response came slow this time, deliberate. "A mirror." I didn't understand that until the phone buzzed again. A video attachment loaded automatically. It was my bedroom, not recorded earlier, not grainy, not from a weird angle. It was live. I could tell because I was standing in the doorway, frozen, watching myself on the screen, watching the screen. The timestamp ticked forward in real time. I spun around. Nothing. "How are you doing this?" I typed. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Same way he did. I wanted to throw the phone away, smash it, run, but I didn't. I sat on my bed, the mattress creaking beneath me, and watched as the camera feed slowly shifted. It wasn't my room anymore. It was Caleb's. He was asleep on the couch, mouth open, TV flickering blue light across his face. The camera angle was low, floor level, like something crawling. That's when I noticed the sound. Not loud, barely there. A soft, rhythmic scratching, like fingernails on tile, or legs brushing against fabric. I typed one word. "Stop," Cotton Teeth replied instantly. "This is the part where you watch." The camera crept closer. I could see the texture of the carpet, the fibers bending. Caleb stirred, frowned, muttered something in his sleep. He scratched his arm without waking up. Something moved across his forearm. Not fast, not dramatic, slow, intentional. The camera never zoomed in. It didn't need to. My brain filled in the blanks with horrible clarity. I recognized the movement, the way it paused, the way it adjusted its grip. I dropped the phone. It kept buzzing on the bed. When I finally picked it back up, the screen showed the kitchen. The couch was empty, the TV still on, the front door slightly ajar. "He's awake now," Cotton Teeth wrote. I ran outside barefoot, heart slamming against my ribs. The night air was thick and wet. Florida summer. The parking lot lights buzzed overhead. I saw Caleb near the dumpster, bent over, gagging, scratching at his neck like something was crawling under his skin. "Caleb!" I shouted. He spun around, eyes wide, pupils blown. His face was pale, sweat soaked through his shirt. "Did you do this?" he screamed. I didn't answer. He lunged at me, hands clawing, nails digging into my arms. "You think this is funny? You think you're sick? I can hear them, man. They're everywhere." Mom's car headlights turned into the lot just as he collapsed. The ambulance came. The cops too. They asked questions. I gave short answers. Caleb kept muttering about spiders, about being watched, about something whispering inside the walls. They took him away. That night, my burner phone buzzed one last time. A photo. Caleb's hospital room. White walls. IV drip. Window cracked open. "Balance," Cotton Teeth wrote. "We're not done." I didn't sleep for 3 days after that. And when I finally did, I dreamed of clicking sounds, of legs tapping in perfect rhythm, of something patient, waiting for the next instruction. Because favors, apparently, don't expire. You can't log out. I tried to back out the next morning, not dramatically, not with some big moral awakening, just quietly, like someone trying to slip out of a party before anyone notices they were ever there. The burner phone was on my desk when I woke up, exactly where I'd left it, screen black and lifeless. For a moment, I convinced myself everything had been a stress-induced hallucination. Caleb was in the hospital. I was home. No spiders, no whispers, just the hum of the AC and my mom making coffee in the kitchen like it was any other Tuesday. I powered the phone on. No chat app, no messages, just a plain lock screen showing the time and date. I laughed, a short, ugly laugh, the kind that comes out when your body doesn't know whether it's safe yet. I told myself it was over. Whatever Cotton Teeth was, whatever game they were playing, maybe it was done. Maybe I got lucky. I reset the phone. Factory reset. Watched the progress bar crawl across the screen like it was scrubbing my sins clean. Then my phone, my real phone, buzzed. Instagram notification. A message request from an account with no profile picture and 0 followers. At we_eat_what_creeps. The message was a video. I didn't open it right away. My hands went numb. My mouth tasted like metal. I sat on my bed staring at that little play icon, knowing that once I tapped it, I was stepping back into something that didn't care about consent. I tapped it. The video started shaky, like it was filmed from inside a pocket. The sound was muffled. Voices in the background. Hospital intercom announcements. Then the camera tilted up. Caleb, strapped to his bed, wide awake. His eyes snapped toward the camera, wild and bloodshot. He tried to speak, but his mouth was dry, words sticking to his tongue. His hands were clenched so tight the knuckles were white. The camera zoomed in on his chest. Something moved under the hospital blanket. Not fast, not chaotic. Slow, methodical shifting, like something exploring. Caleb screamed. The video cut. My Instagram app crashed. When it reopened, the account was gone. I ran to the bathroom and threw up until my throat burned. When I wiped my mouth and looked up, I noticed something new. Tiny red marks along my neck. Not bites, not scratches. Pressure marks. Like something had tested the surface of my skin and decided to wait. I skipped work, turned my location off on every app, deleted social media entirely. I even pulled my SIM card out and smashed it with a hammer, like that would somehow stop whatever had already dug its claws into my life. That night, the house felt wrong. Not haunted, not spooky. Observed. Every shadow felt deliberate. Every sound had intention behind it. The walls clicked softly, like something tapping back when I shifted in my chair. I tried to distract myself with YouTube, some random travel vlog about Tokyo, bright neon streets, people laughing in crowded Starbucks. But the autoplay glitched. The screen went black. White text appeared. Terms of service. Update. Below it, bullet points began to type themselves out. You requested escalation. Escalation has begun. Termination is non-refundable. I unplugged the TV. The text kept typing. I heard something behind me. Breathing. Slow. Controlled. Too close. I spun around. Nothing. But the smell hit me then. Earthy. Damp. Like wet soil and old basements. My burner phone lit up on the desk without me touching it. Cotton Teeth. You tried to cancel. I didn't bother denying it. I'm done, I typed. This wasn't the deal. The response took longer than usual. When it came, it wasn't text. It was audio. I hit play. At first, it sounded like static. Then I recognized the rhythm, the cadence, the smug little pauses between words. Caleb's voice, laughing. You're such a baby, he said. You always were. The recording distorted, slowed down, like tape being dragged through mud. You think you get to quit? The voice continued, no longer his. You watched. The audio ended with that clicking sound again. Louder this time. Closer. I slept with the lights on. Didn't matter. I dreamed I was small, trapped somewhere tight, couldn't move. Felt legs crawling over my face, my mouth, my eyes. I woke up screaming, clawing at my sheets. There was a spider on my pillow. Not alive. Arranged. its legs bent inward, folded carefully, like someone had taken their time. Pinned to the mattress beneath it was a note. Real paper, real ink. Next time you participate. That was when I understood something that still makes my hand shake as I type this. Cotton Teeth wasn't punishing Caleb. They were educating me. And lessons, apparently, repeat until they stick. Participation didn't mean what I thought it meant. I assumed it would be something indirect. Watching another screen, clicking a button, saying yes or no. Something that would let me keep pretending I wasn't already stained by what I'd set in motion. I was wrong in a way that permanently rewired my nervous system. It started with a location pin. The burner phone buzzed at 6:14 p.m. on a Friday, right when the city was choking itself with traffic and neon. The screen showed a map, downtown Jacksonville, centered on a familiar intersection. I knew it instantly because I'd been there 100 times. A McDonald's on one corner, a Starbucks across the street, a bus stop wedged between them, always packed with people staring at their phones like that alone could shield them from reality. Below the map, a single line of text. Go. I didn't respond. Another buzz. You wanted balance. My mouth felt dry enough to crack. I stared at the map, at the little pulsing blue dot that was already moving. My location, tracked without permission, without mercy. I grabbed my keys. I don't remember the drive. I remember flashes, red lights, billboards, a guy blasting music at a stoplight, laughing with his window down. Normal life brushing past me, like nothing was wrong, like I wasn't about to step into something that would follow me forever. The parking lot was half full when I got there. Families, teenagers, a homeless man sleeping with his head against the bus stop glass. The smell of coffee and grease hung in the humid air. My phone buzzed again. Choose a seat. Inside Starbucks, the AC hit me like a slap. The line was long. A barista with purple hair called out names. Someone laughed too loud near the pastry case. I picked a table by the window, hands shaking so badly I had to sit on them. Across the street, through the glass, I could see the McDonald's entrance. That's when the next message came. A photo, not taken from outside, taken from inside the McDonald's. It showed a man sitting alone in a booth, mid-40s maybe, greasy hair, wrinkled work shirt, one hand wrapped around a coffee cup, the other scrolling his phone. Nothing remarkable about him at all. He's afraid of spiders, Cotton Teeth wrote. Everyone is afraid of something. I typed back without thinking. I don't know him. The reply came cold and immediate. Neither did he. The camera feed opened on my screen. It wasn't cinematic. It wasn't dramatic. It was grainy, slightly tilted, like it was mounted somewhere low. Under a table, inside a vent. I could hear the hum of fluorescent lights, the clatter of trays, a child crying somewhere in the background. The man shifted in his seat. Something brushed his ankle. He froze. I felt my own legs go numb. He looked down slowly, carefully, like he was afraid his eyes alone might provoke whatever was there. His face drained of color as soon as he saw it. The camera didn't move. It didn't need to. The man jerked his feet back, knocking his tray over. Coffee spilled across the table, splashing onto the floor. People stared. Someone laughed, thinking it was clumsiness. An accident. He stood up too fast. His knee hit the table. He cursed, shaking, brushing frantically at his pants. That's when I realized what participation meant. My phone buzzed again. Tell him. I stared at the message, my chest tight, breath shallow. Tell him what? I typed. 3 dots. A pause. That it gets worse when you run. I stood up. Every step across the street felt like I was walking underwater. The sounds of traffic were muted, distorted. The sky looked too bright, too normal. I pushed through the McDonald's doors and felt a dozen pairs of eyes flick toward me and then away again. The man was breathing hard, back pressed against the wall, eyes darting around like prey. I stopped a few feet from him. He looked at me, desperate, searching my face for answers I didn't have. I opened my mouth and said exactly what I was told. His face crumpled. No, he whispered. Please. I didn't do anything. I stepped back. The lights flickered. The clicking started. Not loud, not obvious. But once you heard it, you couldn't unhear it. It came from everywhere. From under tables. From vents. From places you never think to look when you're just trying to eat. People screamed. Chairs toppled. Trays clattered. Someone ran for the door and slipped. The man slid down the wall, sobbing, clawing at his own arms, like he could scrape the fear off his skin. I watched. I didn't help. My phone vibrated one last time as sirens wailed in the distance. Good, Cottonteeth wrote. You're learning. I left before anyone could stop me. Back in my car, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror and didn't recognize what stared back. My eyes looked flatter, emptier, like something had hollowed me out and left the shell behind. When I got home, there was another envelope waiting on my bed. Inside was a single photograph. Caleb, sitting upright in his hospital bed, staring directly at the camera, smiling. The web remembers. There is no final part. There's only what's left of you after the story finishes writing you back. You think you're the narrator, the driver, the one making decisions. But you're not. I wasn't. And I'm only telling you this now because I have to. That's the final stage of participation. Telling someone else. Planting the seed. Leaving the door open behind you. You're already standing in the threshold, by the way. Let me explain. After the McDonald's incident, everything got quiet. Not peaceful. Just like the house, right before a thunderstorm, when the air is too still and too thick, and your skin starts to crawl without knowing why. Caleb was back. That's the part no one believes when I tell them. He got discharged from the hospital. No records, no press. Mom never even asked how. He just showed up one morning in the kitchen, barefoot, wearing a shirt I thought he'd lost in college. Coffee? He asked, like nothing had happened. I didn't answer. I stared at his face, pale, a little gaunt, with the same arrogant smirk I'd grown up despising, except now it felt like something wearing his face, like a mask had learned how to move. He tapped the side of his mug with one nail. The sound it made, it wasn't ceramic. It was softer, drier, like chitin. You ever wonder, he said sipping, if spiders know what webs they're in? I moved out that night, didn't tell anyone where. Paid a sketchy landlord in cash for a room that barely had plumbing and a window that wouldn't close all the way. Didn't care. I just needed distance, space to think, space to breathe without hearing them crawl inside the walls. I turned the burner phone off. I threw it in the lake. I went full ghost. No socials, no calls, no credit trail. Didn't matter. Because that's the thing about favors. They have a way of following you. It started with the ads, random pop-ups on YouTube, not real ones. Unskippable 2-second blips with no product, just static and a voice whispering my name, clearly, like through broken teeth. Then it was strangers, not stalkers. Worse, people who recognized me, cashiers who didn't blink, kids who turned their heads too slowly, a guy at an airport who smiled at me with lips that didn't part. All of them would say the same thing, just under their breath, just loud enough for me to know it was real. We sting what stung, then walk away. I got desperate, hunted for forums again, back alley parts of the web that hadn't been updated since 2003, full of broken links and buried threads with usernames like Postbyte and V1CT0R4UGH, places with names like Eclipse Cafe and the Rotting Index. That's where I found it. A thread titled Cotton Teeth, Favor Chains, and the Nature of Debt. Only 2 replies. The original post was from 2012. It described a pattern. A user gets contacted after searching violent terms, gets offered balance, participates, then gets a task, then another, until they break. One reply was simple. I said no, and my sister drowned in spiders. The other reply was worse. Saying no is participation. That's how they feed. That same night, my new room started changing. Subtle at first. My closet door creaked open every night at exactly 3:12 a.m. My toothbrush always had a single bristle bent at a perfect 90-degree angle. My shower drain whispered. I didn't sleep for days, and when I did, I dreamed in static. No images, just sound. The sound of teeth grinding, the sound of thousands of legs ticking across glass, the sound of someone in the room with me, saying nothing. Then the final favor came. No message, just a package on my doorstep. Inside, a sealed envelope, a thumb drive, a live tarantula in a clear plastic box, perched on a strip of paper that read, Instructor. I opened the envelope. There were 2 things inside. A printed image of Caleb sleeping, face slack, mouth slightly open, one hand curled under his cheek like a child. A key, and on the back of the photo, scrawled in perfect, sharp handwriting, Now it's your turn to teach. I stared at the tarantula. It didn't move. It just watched me. I swear to God, its 8 little eyes watched me. I plugged the thumb drive into an old laptop I hadn't touched in years. 1 file. No name. I opened it. A list appeared. Not names. Videos. Hundreds. Maybe thousands. All thumbnails of faces. All in different places. Buses, schools, parks, concerts, subways. Real people. Smiling. Talking. Existing. And under each video was a single button. Balance. That's all it said. No confirm. No cancel. Just balance. And that's when I understood the real horror of this. Cotton Teeth isn't a person. It's a system. A ritual. A game with no scoreboard. No winners. Just players sliding down a web they didn't know they stepped into. You don't contact Cotton Teeth. You summon it. Through action. Through thought. Through curiosity. Every time you watch those horror videos online, every time you wonder what's real and what's just creepypasta, every time you click, that's participation. That's enough. I didn't click any of the videos. I shut the laptop and buried it in a dumpster 2 cities over. Didn't matter. That night, I woke up with a tarantula in my mouth, not crawling, not biting, just sitting there, like it was waiting. I've moved 6 times since then, lost jobs, cut ties. I change phones weekly. I don't talk to strangers. I don't go near fast food places or crowded stores. I flinch at static. I flinch at clicking pens. I haven't made eye contact with another human being in 11 months. But it's not enough, because every night at 3:12 a.m., something scratches inside my walls. The air goes still, my lights flicker, and my phone whichever one I have, buzzes once. Always one word. Always the same. Balance. You're reading this. That was my participation. Now it's yours. Good luck. I took a drug from the dark web that let me feel what death feels like. I'm still stuck in the last 5 seconds. Yo, what's up, Reddit? I don't even know how to start this, man. I've never posted anything like this before, and honestly, I'm kind of freaking out even typing this out. But something happened to me last month, and I haven't been the same since. My friends think I'm just tweaking. My mom says I need therapy, but I know what I saw. I know what I felt. This wasn't a dream. This wasn't a bad trip. It was real. And I think I brought something back with me. Let me rewind a bit. So for some context, I'm a 20-year-old guy. I live in a decent little apartment near downtown Toronto, kinda close to the Eaton Centre, if you know the area. I work nights doing inventory at a distribution warehouse. Super boring, but it pays the rent. On my off nights, I game, scroll TikTok, binge random iceberg YouTube videos at 2 a.m., the usual insomniac lifestyle. And yeah, I've dabbled with some stuff. Mostly weed, a little LSD a couple years ago. Nothing crazy. I don't have a death wish, but I do have curiosity. That stupid, wide-eyed kind of curiosity that makes you click one more video, scroll one more page. The kind that makes you think, what if all those dark web horror stories are actually real? That's how this started. It was around 3 a.m., middle of a snowstorm. I was just chilling with this Discord server I joined a few weeks back. It was a weird server, only about 20 people active, but everyone there was deep into conspiracy rabbit holes. I'm talking CIA experiments, Mitten 411 stuff, body cam footage that never made it to YouTube. A lot of them claimed they used the dark web regularly. Most of it seemed like cap, but there was this one dude, username was ZeroFool, that kept dropping these crazy links and screenshots. At first, I ignored him. Figured he was just role-playing or LARPing like half the other edgy kids online. But then he posted this one message, and I legit wish I had just scrolled past it. It said, "Ever wonder what dying actually feels like? I got something for the real ones, not for the faint of heart." Attached was a screenshot of this janky-looking site. Looked like it was built in the early 2000s. Black background, neon green text, all glitchy and cryptic. The title said, "Extasia, reach 0.8. Intercept your afterlife." There was a picture of a syringe, but it was clearly photoshopped to look almost like it was melting. I don't even know how to explain it. Like the shadows weren't falling in the right direction. It had a buy now button under it, but when I hovered over it, it changed too. I consent to partial ego death. No price. No delivery time. Just a box to type your address. Yeah, sketchy as hell. But here's where I really messed up. I jokingly typed in mine. Not seriously. Just like, haha, yeah, whatever. Bring me the death drug. I clicked submit just to see what would happen. The site glitched, like it blinked, and then closed. Not a pop-up, not an error, just gone. The tab closed itself. Discord froze for like 30 seconds and then kicked me out of the server. I couldn't find the server again. It just straight up disappeared. Not in my history, not in my joined servers, not even in my cache. It's like it never existed. I forgot about it. Kinda. For a few days, I chalked it up to a weird net bug or some elaborate ARG or something. I mean, people are doing creepy horror TikTok games all the time now. Maybe it was like that. Until 5 days later, when a tiny black box showed up in my mailbox. No stamps, no return address, just my name, handwritten in red Sharpie on a plain matte box. It was cold, like unnaturally cold. I brought it inside, but I swear to God it made the air in my apartment colder the second I opened it. I thought it might have been dry ice, but nope. Just foam padding, and in the middle, a single syringe with the same strange melting label from the site. It didn't even look real. The liquid inside was pitch black, like ink, with these little silver swirls that moved like they were alive. I held it up to the light, and it shimmered, but not like a rainbow or iridescence, more like static on a broken TV. Underneath them it was a folded piece of paper. In that same neon green text from the site, it said, "You already clicked. No backsize. Lie down. Inject. 5 seconds. Return not guaranteed. ZF." I should have called someone, flushed it, burned it, but I didn't, because deep down, something inside me wanted to know. I couldn't stop thinking about it. What could a 5-second death feel like? Could it be some DMT variant? Was it just some weird blackout drug? So, the next night, Friday, I turned off all my lights, locked my doors, put on a lo-fi stream on my TV, just to keep the place from feeling dead quiet. I laid down on my bed, uncapped the syringe, stared at that black ink for what felt like hours, and then I pushed it into my arm. It burned, like sticking a wire into a socket. Not heat, electricity. Like every vein in my body was lighting up. My ears started ringing so loud I couldn't hear my own breathing. The edges of my vision started curling in like burnt paper. Then everything just stopped, and I was somewhere else. I wasn't in my room. I wasn't even in my body. I couldn't move, couldn't blink, but I could see. Somehow, I was in this massive, endless hallway, made entirely of static, like those old analog TVs that lost signal. The floor wasn't solid. The ceiling stretched forever upward, but it wasn't dark. It was filled with faces, twisting, melting, screaming in reverse. All of them looked familiar. One of them was me. That's when I felt it, the time loop, the realization that I was stuck, that the 5 seconds weren't passing, they were repeating, over and over and over. I can't explain how long I was there. Could have been hours, days. I felt every second like a century. My memory started unraveling like string. I saw every mistake I ever made, every embarrassing moment I'd ever repressed, every lie I ever told replaying on a loop. Except I wasn't watching it. I was feeling it, like my soul was being flayed by regret. Then, right before the loop broke, something leaned in close to me. I couldn't see its face, but I felt it smile, and it whispered, "Welcome back." I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat. My bed was soaked, my nose was bleeding, the syringe was gone, but the TV was still playing. Only now the lo-fi stream was static, and in the middle of the screen, in glowing green letters, it said, "You are now in your last 5 seconds, forever." The first thing I noticed wasn't fear. It was delay. That's the only word I can use for it. Like reality itself was buffering. I sat up in my bed, lungs dragging in air that felt stale and recycled, and everything lagged half a second behind my movements. When I turned my head, the room followed late. When I blinked, the darkness stayed just a fraction too long. You know when you pause a YouTube video and the audio keeps playing for a split second? That. I checked my phone. My lock screen lit up, but the time didn't move. It said 2:17 a.m. I stared at it for what felt like a full minute. The seconds never changed. No notification banners, no vibration, just that frozen time, and my reflection warped faintly in the glass, like my face was trying to remember how to be a face. I laughed. I actually laughed, because what else do you do when your brain starts scrambling for explanations? Bad trip, residual hallucinations, sleep paralysis with extra steps. I swung my legs off the bed, and that's when my foot went through the floor. Not fell through, not sank, clipped, like a video game glitch. I yanked it back instantly, hard punching my ribs so hard I thought I'd black out again. The carpet looked normal. I pressed my foot down slowly this time. Solid, fine, no hole, no damage. That was the moment I realized something was very wrong. I stood up and walked to the bathroom. Every step echoed too loud, like the apartment was empty in a way it had never been before. The hallway light flickered, but not randomly. It flickered in a pattern. Long, short, long. Almost like someone was tapping a code I didn't understand. I leaned over the sink and turned on the faucet. The water came out after the sound. I watched the empty basin while I heard the rush. Then half a second later, the water appeared, already splashing like it had been running longer than it had. I slammed the handle off, and the water kept flowing for another beat before stopping. I stared at my reflection. My eyes were bloodshot, sure, but that wasn't it. My pupils were uneven. One was slightly behind the other, like it was trying to catch up. When I raised my hand, my reflection raised its hand too, but its fingers twitched a moment after mine stopped moving. I whispered my name. My reflection mouthed it back. Late. I backed away from the mirror and nearly tripped over my cat's food bowl. Except, I don't have a cat. I never have. I've always been allergic. But there it was, stainless steel, half full. Kibble spilled across the floor like it had been kicked. Something brushed against my leg. I froze. Nothing was there. No weight, no warmth. Just the impression of contact, like when someone passes too close behind you in a crowded Starbucks line and you feel their presence without seeing them. I grabbed my phone again and opened Instagram. The feed loaded instantly, too instantly. No buffering, no ads, just posts from people I followed, except the captions were wrong. Every single one ended with the same sentence, buried between emojis and hashtags, like it belonged there. 5 seconds left. I refreshed. Same thing, different posts, same ending. I opened TikTok. Videos autoplayed without sound. People dancing, cooking, crying into the camera. But their movements were off, like they were being dragged forward by invisible strings. Every video cut off exactly 5 seconds before it should have ended. I searched my own name. An account popped up that wasn't mine, but it used my profile picture. Same bio, same old posts, except the most recent upload was a story posted 2 minutes ago. It was a video of my bedroom, from the corner of the ceiling. I wasn't alone in the frame. I dropped the phone. It hit the floor and shattered, but I still heard the notification sound. Over and over, like it was ringing from inside my skull now. My apartment started to hum, low and constant, like electrical wiring under stress. The lights dimmed until everything took on that sickly yellow tone you see in late-night McDonald's bathrooms, where time feels irrelevant and wrong. I ran outside. The hallway of my building was empty. No footsteps, no elevator ding. The exit sign flickered between exit and stay. I took the stairs 2 at a time, burst through the front door, and nearly collided with a man standing on the sidewalk. He was just there, middle-aged, hoodie pulled tight, hands in pockets. He looked completely normal, except for one thing. He wasn't blinking. He smiled at me, like we were old friends. "Rough night?" he asked. His voice didn't echo right. It arrived before his lips finished moving. I stumbled back. "What time is it?" He tilted his head, listening to something I couldn't hear. "Same as you," he said. "Always." Cars passed on the street, but none of them had drivers. I could see straight through the windshields. Storefronts were lit, Starbucks glowing on the corner, but everyone inside was frozen mid-motion. A barista pouring coffee that never reached the cup. A woman mid-laugh, mouth open forever. The man stepped closer. "You feel it, don't you?" he said. "That drag, that stretch, that little snap when things don't line up anymore." I asked him what he was. He laughed. "Too hard, too fast. I'm what happens when someone stays," he said. "Most people don't. Most people panic themselves awake or out. But you listened." I remembered the whisper in the static hallway. "Welcome back." My chest tightened. "Back from where?" "From the rehearsal," he said. "From the preview, from the trailer, before the feature presentation." He leaned in close enough that I could smell copper on his breath. "You didn't feel death," he whispered. "You felt the moment before. And now your brain thinks that's where it belongs." I ran again. I don't know how long I ran. Streets looped. Landmarks repeated. I passed the same McDonald's 3 times from different directions. The same kid stood outside every time, staring at his phone, scrolling endlessly with his thumb, while blood trickled from his nose, like he didn't notice. Eventually, I ended up somewhere I didn't recognize. A parking lot under an overpass, and in the middle of it, illuminated by flickering streetlights, was a white van with its doors open. Inside were people, alive, moving, crying. Some were screaming, but no sound came out. Others were frozen in positions that looked painful, unnatural, like their bodies had been caught mid-error. Screens were mounted along the walls of the van, each one showing a different perspective of a person's last moments. Drownings, car crashes, hospital rooms with flatlining monitors, 5 seconds on loop. I saw myself on one of the screens, lying on my bed, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream. A voice came from behind me. "You can leave, you know." I turned. It wasn't the man from before. This one looked younger, college age, hoodie, backpack. He was shaking so hard his teeth clicked. "How?" I asked. He swallowed. "You trade." "For what?" He didn't answer right away, just pointed at the screens. "You give them someone else's 5 seconds," he said finally. "Fresh ones, untouched. Someone who doesn't know they're counting yet." I felt sick. "I didn't do that," I said. He looked at me with hollow eyes. "Neither did I. Not at first." One of the screens changed. A new feed popped up. A familiar apartment. A familiar bedroom. Someone I loved, sitting on the edge of the bed, scrolling their phone. The timer appeared in the corner. 005. The hum grew louder. The world stuttered. And somewhere, just beneath the sound of my own heartbeat, I heard a smile forming in the dark. I don't know how much longer I can stay aware. The lag is getting worse. My thoughts repeat. My hands feel like they belong to someone else. If this post cuts off suddenly, it's because I finally ran out of time to write. If someone DMs you with a link, if a server disappears, if a box shows up cold in your hands, don't click, don't inject. Because 5 seconds is more than enough time for something to follow you back. I didn't make the trade. I need to say that first, because I know how this sounds. I didn't grab anyone, didn't drag a stranger into that van, didn't whisper lies into someone's ear and hand them a link. I didn't choose anyone, but something did. When I stumbled out of that parking lot, the city snapped back into motion like nothing had ever been wrong. Cars honked, people crossed streets, music spilled from open doors. The overpass behind me was just concrete and shadow again, empty like it had always been. No van, no screens, no proof, except my phone buzzed in my pocket. I hadn't picked up a replacement yet. I was still using my old backup, cracked screen, terrible battery life. The notification wasn't from any app I recognized. No icon, just text on black. Time, credit applied, plus 0:05. I felt it before I understood it. The lag loosened. The pressure in my skull eased just a little. Reality snapped closer to alignment. Sounds landed where they were supposed to. My breath felt like my own again. 5 seconds. Someone else's. I threw up in a gutter outside a 7-Eleven and cried until my throat burned, because some part of me already knew what that meant. That night, I locked myself inside my apartment and covered every reflective surface. Mirrors, windows, TV screen, laptop. I unplugged everything except one lamp. I sat on the floor with my knees pulled to my chest, counting my breaths, trying not to feel the seconds slide like wet glass through my fingers. At 2:17 a.m., my lamp flickered. Once, twice. Then it stayed off. The room didn't go dark. It went flat, like someone had turned the contrast all the way down. I could still see, but depth was gone. My walls looked like cardboard cutouts. My hands looked like props attached to me. By accident, the hum came back. It wasn't loud this time. It didn't need to be. It lived behind everything. The fridge, the pipes, my own heartbeat. I pressed my palms against my ears and felt it vibrating through my bones. My phone buzzed again. New activity detected. A live stream opened automatically. Vertical video. Shaky camera. Someone breathing hard. I recognized the place instantly. A public restroom inside a mall. Bright lights. Beige tiles. A Starbucks logo visible through the doorway. The camera turned toward the mirror. A girl stared back. She couldn't have been older than 16. Mascara smeared. Nose red from crying. She kept whispering, "Okay, okay, okay," like if she said it enough times something would listen. I tried to close the app. It didn't respond. The comments started rolling in, scrolling too fast to read individually, but I caught fragments. First time? Don't panic. It makes it worse. Count backwards, trade, or loop. The girl's phone buzzed. Her face drained of color. "No," she said. "No, I didn't click anything, I swear." The timer appeared in the corner of the screen. 0:05. She started screaming. Not theatrically, not like a movie. It was raw and ugly and desperate, like the sound tore itself out of her chest without permission. She slammed the phone down on the sink and grabbed at her hair, pacing in tight circles, breathing so fast I thought she'd pass out. Then the stream froze. 5 seconds before something terrible happened. The app closed. My phone buzzed one last time. Time. Credit applied. Plus 0:05. I dropped it like it burned me. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that frozen frame. Her mouth open, her hands mid-motion. The moment stretched thin and endless, and I was standing on it like cracked ice. By morning, I understood the system. It wasn't random. It followed attention. Likes, views, clicks, engagement. The people who vanished weren't snatched off the street. They were watched, observed, paused mid-existence by thousands of strangers who didn't even know they were part of it. Reaction channels, clips, compilations, top 10 creepy live streams that ended badly. Every view was a hook, every comment a knell. I tried to warn people. I posted anonymously on forums, on Reddit, on Discord servers I could still access. I typed until my fingers cramped, begging people not to click, not to share, not to watch. My posts got removed. Unverified claims, fear-mongering, ARG bait. Someone reposted one of my warnings with a laughing emoji, and the caption, "Bro thinks he's in a creepypasta." That night, my phone buzzed again. Another stream. This time, I recognized the place before the face. A bus stop near my apartment. Same ad bench. Same graffiti tag on the glass. The camera tilted up. It was my neighbor, the guy from across the hall, the one who always smelled like cigarettes and nodded politely but never talked. He looked confused, squinting at his phone like he couldn't figure out how he'd gone live. I stood up so fast, my chair tipped over. I ran. I didn't even grab my jacket. I took the stairs 3 at a time, burst out onto the street, heart trying to claw its way out of my throat. The bus stop was only 2 blocks away. I could make it. I had to make it. My phone buzzed in my hand as I ran. 00:04. I turned the corner and saw him. He was standing exactly where he always stood, backpack at his feet, phone in his hand. He looked up when he saw me, relief flashing across his face. "Hey," he said, "do you know why my phone's doing?" The world stuttered. His voice cut off mid-word. The air thickened, like syrup. I reached out. My fingers passed through his arm. The timer hit 0. He didn't fall. He didn't vanish. He just stopped, locked in place, eyes wide, mouth half open, frozen like a mannequin dropped into the wrong scene. My phone buzzed. Time credit applied. Plus 00:05. I screamed. People walked past us, around us, through the space he occupied without noticing anything wrong. To them, the bus stop was empty. To me, he was still there. Still there. I backed away slowly, my mind fracturing under the weight of it. That's when I saw the others, reflections in windows, figures standing too still on street corners. People paused mid-step at crosswalks. No one waited at anymore. The city was filling up with leftovers, and somewhere deep inside me, something cold and sharp clicked into place. I wasn't being punished. I was being used. Every 5 seconds they took from someone else anchored me here a little longer. Every loop they trapped someone in tightened whatever knot kept me from slipping fully into that static hallway again. I went home and locked the door and sat in the dark, rocking back and forth, whispering, "I didn't choose this," like a prayer. My phone lit up one last time before the battery died. A message from an unknown sender. "You're stabilizing nicely. Soon you won't even notice the screams." I don't know how many seconds I have left now. They don't tell you. They just keep adding time, stacking borrowed moments like bricks in a wall you never agreed to help build. If I stop watching, I slip. If I keep watching, people disappear. And the worst part, somewhere along the way, I stop flinching when the timer appears. Sleep doesn't reset anything anymore. I learned that after 3 days without it, or maybe 4. Time has started lying to me in small, deliberate ways. Clocks drift. Alarms ring late. The sun rises like it's unsure whether it's allowed to. When I finally did pass out, Face down on the floor, fully clothed, I dreamed of numbers, not counting, watching. Rows of glowing digits stacked behind my eyes, rolling forward whenever someone screamed somewhere I couldn't see. Every number felt warm and intimate, like it had been pressed into my skin with a thumb. I woke up with the sensation that something had been reading me while I slept, flipping through my thoughts. The hum was louder when I woke up. It had texture now, a rhythm, almost speech. I covered my ears and laughed until my throat went raw, because laughter still felt like a human thing to do, and I was terrified of how natural everything else was starting to feel. My phone came back to life on its own. I didn't plug it in. I didn't touch it. It just turned on, screen glowing softly, like it was trying not to scare me. A new app icon sat dead center. No name, just a white symbol that looked like a pause button melted into an eye. I stared at it for a long time. Then it blinked. Not animated, not flashy. It blinked the way an eye does when it realizes you're looking back. I opened it. The interface was clean, minimal, almost friendly. A list of thumbnails scrolled endlessly downward, each one a frozen moment. 5 seconds before impact. 5 seconds before realization. 5 seconds before everything stopped being optional. Locations were tagged under each feed. Airports, hotel rooms, fast food bathrooms, parking garages, bedrooms that looked too much like mine. A counter sat at the top of the screen. Stability, 92%. Below it, smaller text. Keep watching to maintain alignment. I scrolled. The thumbnails pulsed slightly when I passed over them, like they were eager, like dogs waiting for permission. I tried to close the app. A message slid up smoothly, politely. Closing the app may result in desynchronization. My reflection appeared faintly over the glass of the screen. For a split second, it wasn't matching my expression. It was smiling. That's when I felt it. The shift. Not physical, not emotional, moral. Something inside me tilted. I told myself I was just looking, that watching wasn't the same as choosing, that if the system existed with or without me, my attention didn't really matter. That's what psychopaths say, by the way. I know that now. That's the language of people who've already stepped over the line and don't want to look down. The first feed I watched all the way through was a security guard in a museum. After hours, he was bored, scrolling his phone. The camera angle was from the ceiling, grainy and detached. He yawned, stretched, leaned back in his chair. The timer appeared. 0:05. Nothing dramatic happened. No sudden danger. No obvious threat. At 0, the feed froze. The app chimed softly. Stability. 94%. I didn't feel relief. I felt rewarded. That scared me more than anything else so far. The feed started changing after that. They got closer, more local. One afternoon, I opened the app and saw a thumbnail that made my stomach drop. My building's laundry room. I recognized the cracked tile, the flickering fluorescent light, the vending machine that never worked. A woman stood there, folding clothes, earbuds in, swaying slightly to music only she could hear. I knew her. Not well. We'd shared the elevator a few times. Smiled politely. That was it. The timer hadn't appeared yet. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, my mind screaming, Don't watch. Don't be part of it. Don't let the counter climb on her back. I turned the phone face down. The hum intensified instantly. The walls seemed to lean inward. My vision tunneled. My hand shook so badly I dropped the phone. The timer appeared anyway. 00:05. Even face down, I could hear it. The faint, distant echo of fabric dropping. A breath caught in surprise. A sound like something slipping out of place. The hum stopped. I flipped the phone over. The feed was frozen. Stability, 97%. I slid down the wall and laughed until I started choking, because the universe had made its point very clear. Consent was optional. Participation was not. That night, I started noticing gaps in my memory. Little ones at first. A message typed, but not remembered. Food eaten with no recollection of tasting it. Then bigger holes. Hours missing. Waking up with the app open and no idea how long I'd been watching. The feeds got worse when I wasn't fully present. They lingered, zoomed, found angles that felt intentional. Some of them looked straight into the camera, eyes locked, like they could see past the screen, like they recognized something in me. One man smiled when the timer appeared. Another mouthed, "Thank you." I stopped trying to rationalize after that. I started setting rules instead. No kids, no people I knew well, no repeating locations. The app didn't care. It learned me, adjusted, showed me exactly what would keep my eyes open. I don't remember deciding to leave my apartment that night, but I remember where I ended up. A hospital, not the ER, not patient areas. A maintenance hallway behind the morgue. I don't know how I got in. Doors opened when I touched them. Cameras turned away. The air down there was cold in a way that felt intentional, like it was preserving something. My phone buzzed. A live feed opened automatically. The camera angle was low, rolling, a gurney, a body covered by a sheet. The timer hadn't started yet. I followed the hallway. Footsteps echoing too loud, heart thudding in my ears. The screen showed exactly what I was seeing, but slightly ahead, like it was guiding me. I stopped outside a door marked "Authorized Personnel Only." The timer appeared, 00:05. I didn't open the door. The feed didn't need me to. The sheet shifted, just a little. Something moved underneath. The 5 seconds stretched. The hum swelled into something almost musical. At 0, the feed froze. My phone vibrated gently in my hand. Stability, 100%. The app closed itself. The hum vanished. For the first time since this started, everything lined up perfectly. No lag, no delay, no distortion. I stood there in the silent hallway, breathing evenly, heart calm, mind terrifyingly clear. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't being punished anymore. I wasn't being used. I was being prepared. My phone buzzed one final time. A simple message centered on the screen. "You're ready to host." Somewhere behind the morgue door, something knocked back. The knock didn't come from the door. It came from inside my chest. That's the only way I can explain it. A dull, patient thud, like something testing the walls of a container it had finally decided to keep. I stood in that hospital hallway long after the sound faded, staring at the door, feeling more complete than I had in weeks. Calm, balanced, perfectly aligned. I didn't open the door. I didn't need to. I walked out of the hospital without anyone stopping me. Security guards stared straight through me. Automatic doors slid open before I reached them. Outside, the city looked sharper, cleaner. Every sound landed exactly where it should. No lag, no hum. For the first time since this started, I felt present. When I got home, my apartment was different. Not rearranged, not damaged, occupied. The air felt heavier, like a room after someone leaves, but you can still feel their body heat in the chair. My lamp was on, even though I remembered turning it off. My couch cushion had an indentation that wasn't mine. My phone waited on the table. The app was gone. In its place was my camera, already open, already recording, front-facing. I stared into the lens and watched myself stare back, perfectly synced. No delay, no distortion. My smile formed naturally, easily, like I'd practiced it. Text appeared over the screen. Welcome to the anchor point. Memory flooded me then. Not mine. Ours. Fragments of screams I never heard with my ears. Faces I never saw with my eyes. Moments compressed into neat little 5-second packages, stacked and sorted and catalogued behind my thoughts like files in a server room. I understood the architecture. The system didn't live on the dark web. It lived in people, in witnesses, in hosts. The drug wasn't a key. It was a vulnerability scan. It found people who could hold the weight. I laughed softly, because of course it did. The camera zoomed in slightly. Go live. I didn't touch the screen. I didn't have to. The stream started. Viewer count ticked upward instantly. Hundreds. Thousands. The comments poured in, flying too fast to read, but I felt them like pressure against my skin. Attention. Focus. Engagement. I spoke. My voice sounded steady, warm, reassuring. Hey, I said, I don't have much time. That wasn't a lie. It never is. I told them a story. Not everything. Just enough. I talked about curiosity, about links, about how easy it is to think you're safe behind a screen. I watched the viewer count climb with every word. I watched the stability settle deep into my bones. Somewhere in the city, the counter started moving again. I felt it happen. A soft click. A gentle pull. A woman stalled in traffic, checking her phone one last time. A guy alone in a gym locker room after closing. A kid filming a prank in an abandoned building, laughing too loud. 5 seconds before realization. 5 seconds before everything paused. I didn't see their faces. I felt their weight. The stream chat exploded. People begged. People joked. People accused me of faking it. I smiled wider. Look, I said, leaning closer to the camera, lowering my voice like I was letting them in on a secret. You don't have to believe me. The screen flickered behind me. For just a frame, something stood there. Tall. Wrong. Folded in on itself, like it didn't fully understand the rules of having a shape. My reflection didn't react. Just watch, I said. The timer appeared on the stream. 005. Comments froze mid-scroll. The chat locked. The world leaned forward. At 0, the stream cut to static. When it came back, I was gone. The apartment was empty. Police reports say I vanished. No forced entry. No struggle. No footage. Just an open app running endlessly on a phone that wouldn't turn off. That phone still goes live sometimes. Randomly. Briefly. Always from a different place. A food court. A rest stop bathroom. A bedroom with posters on the wall and clothes on the floor. The stream never lasts long. 5 seconds maybe. Just enough time for the counter to move. Just enough time for someone to feel that delay. That drag. That moment where reality hesitates. Just enough time for curiosity to do the rest. If you're reading this and your screen feels warmer than it should. If the room seems a little flatter than usual. If time feels like it's holding its breath. Don't worry. You're not dying. You're just being measured. And somewhere very close, something is deciding whether you'll make a good host. 5 seconds is all it needs. I tracked my stalker, using the dark web. The site asked why I was hunting a man who was already dead. He was in every photo, but I never took one, yo. I don't usually post on Reddit. I'm more of a lurker. But I swear, if I don't get the story out, I'm gonna lose my mind. You ever feel like your life is spiraling and no one around you even notices? Yeah, that's where I've been for the past few months. But it all started 6 weeks ago with a random photo on my Instagram. Not a new one I took, not a DM. A photo I never uploaded, but it was there, plain as day, sitting in my story highlights with the location tagged Starbucks Reserve Roastery, Chicago. I hadn't been to Chicago in over 2 years, and the weirdest part, I was in the picture, clear as hell, standing by the pastry counter, looking dead into the lens like I knew it was there. Only I didn't remember it being taken, didn't remember the outfit, didn't remember the moment. And behind me was a guy, tall, dark hoodie, pulled tight over a ball cap, sunglasses on, just barely out of focus, like he was mid-step. It was like those horror animations on YouTube, where the MC's in the frame, but the thing behind them gets closer every time you blink. I freaked. I deleted the story, obviously. Checked my login history. Nothing weird. Changed my password. 2-factor on. Locked down. But the next night, there was another one. Different location. Same vibe. Still me. Still that guy. This time, it was a photo in Times Square. I live in Ohio. And yeah, I looked like I was actually there. Holding a pretzel, laughing. The kind of perfect vacation snap you'd post if you had a normal life. Except I never went. I checked my credit card history, Apple Maps history, Snap Map. Everything said I was at home the past weekend. But then I got a message from an account with no followers, no profile pic. The username was just 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, like a string of zeros. It said, "You looked happier there. Let's try again tomorrow." I blocked it, reported it. That should have been the end. But it wasn't. That was just the beginning. I started noticing things. Noticed the same silver Toyota parked down the street every night. Noticed someone started liking my older Instagram posts from 2 years back. Stuff that had, like, 3 likes total. Even my TikToks were getting hit. One of my dumb skits from a year ago suddenly had a comment. "That's not how you looked at the mall." Which mall? I hadn't mentioned a mall. Then the dreams started. Only they didn't feel like dreams. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, sweating like I just ran a marathon, clothes damp, feet aching. Sometimes there'd be a Starbucks napkin on my bed, or sand between my toes. Literal sand. Like I'd actually gone somewhere, but had no memory of it. I bought a nanny cam. You can get those fake smoke detector ones on Amazon for like $30. Set it up in my bedroom. The footage was boring until the 5th night. At exactly 3:37 a.m., I sat up. Not like groggy, like snapped upright. Then I stood, walked out of the frame, gone for 3 hours, returned barefoot, holding something I couldn't quite make out. Looked like a Polaroid. Tucked it under my pillow. Lay back down. When I checked the pillow, nothing was there. But now I wasn't just scared. I was angry. I had to know who was doing this. How? Why? So I called up my old friend Sean, the only guy I know who used to go real deep on the dark web back in high school. Not like Silk Road stupid stuff. He was more into data leaks and weird forums. He said there were places, directories, where you could search your own name and see if someone was tracking you. Like a reverse people search, only backwards. He warned me not to go looking if I wasn't ready. Said some sites tag you when you visit, and that the wrong click can ruin your life. I told him I didn't care. I wanted in, We used a Tails USB stick and Tor browser, obviously. Clean session. We booted into the darknet and searched for something called the Echo Index, as like a ghost archive. According to Sean, if someone's been watching you long enough, they'll leave a trail. Photos, audio, even live location pings. The catch? You have to ask why you're looking and who you're looking for. There's a terminal-like prompt. No buttons, no clicks. It just flashes this. Name of subject. I typed Eli B, my full name. Reason for track. I typed, I think he's stalking me. It glitched. No joke. The screen glitched, like old VHS static, and then typed by itself. Why are you tracking a man who died in 2019? I stopped breathing for a second. Sean looked at me, mouth open. What the fuck did you type? I typed my name. Dude. What? I turned the screen toward him. He read it again. I swear he went pale. That means someone's using your name. Like, full digital ghosting. That's not just identity theft. That's like, they made a replica. That's not your file. That's someone wearing your name. He was already dead. That was 6 nights ago. I've been getting more messages now. Not just DMs, texts. Sometimes the lights in my apartment flicker, and there's that smell again. Like damp subway air. Like an underground station, but nowhere near me. Last night I found another picture in my phone gallery. It was me, sleeping, taken from about 3 feet away. There's a Starbucks cup on the nightstand with the name Eli B. I don't drink Starbucks. I never have. Yeah, this isn't fake. I wish it was. The internet remembered me. Better than I remembered myself. I didn't sleep after that photo. I sat on my bed until sunrise, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the door like it might breathe. My phone buzzed every few minutes. Not notifications, just that phantom vibration you feel when your nerves are fried. By morning, my reflection in the bathroom mirror didn't look like me anymore. My eyes were sunken, lips cracked, skin gray, like I'd been underground for weeks. I skipped work. I didn't even text my manager. I just opened my laptop again. That was my mistake. I went back on tour alone. Sean texted me, "Don't," all caps, like that would stop me. I didn't want help. I wanted answers. I wanted to rip whatever mask was being worn in my name straight off. The Echo Index was still there. Same black screen, same blinking cursor. But now it didn't ask for my name. It already had it. A timeline unfolded, scrolling by itself. Dates, times, locations, some real, some impossible. 2018, McDonald's, Shibuya Crossing. 2019, Underground Pedestrian Tunnel, Paris. 2020, closed IKEA, Malmö. 2021, Service Hallway, Universal Studios, Hollywood. 2022, Restroom Stall, Newark Airport. 2023, Food Court, Dubai Mall. Each entry expanded when I hovered over it. Photos, videos, audio clips, all of me. Different hair lengths, different weights, different clothes, but always my face, always my voice, always the same slight scar above my eyebrow I got when I was 12. There was one video I couldn't stop watching. It showed me sitting at a plastic McDonald's table at 2 a.m. somewhere overseas. The fluorescent lights hummed. I was smiling, but my eyes weren't right. Too still, like a mannequin pretending to be human. Across from me sat the man from the photos. Same hoodie, same sunglasses, except now he was eating fries. He leaned forward and said something I couldn't hear. Then I laughed. Not my normal laugh. Not awkward or breathy or nervous. It was slow, controlled, practiced. The video ended with the camera turning toward a security mirror on the ceiling, and I saw something behind the cameraman. Someone standing exactly where I was sitting now in my apartment. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it cracked the plastic. I tried to run. That afternoon, I packed a bag. No phone, no cards, just cash and clothes, and drove 3 hours without stopping. Random direction, random motel off the highway, with a flickering vacancy sign and a front desk clerk who didn't look up when I checked in. I locked the door, jammed a chair under the handle, sat on the bed shaking until my teeth hurt. At 11:11 p.m., the motel Wi-Fi connected by itself. A notification popped up on my laptop, which I had not turned on. You always choose places with mirrors. The bathroom light flicked on. I didn't move. I couldn't. The mirror over the sink fogged like someone had just taken a hot shower. Words appeared as if traced by an invisible finger. Stop pretending you're the original. I smashed the mirror with my elbow. Blood ran down my arm, warm and real and grounding. The fog vanished. So did the words. The front desk called 10 minutes later to complain about noise. I checked out at dawn and drove straight to my mom's house. Childhood home. Safe place. Or at least it used to be. She hugged me like I was still a kid. Said I looked thin. Asked if I was eating. While she made coffee, I noticed something on the fridge. A photo held up by a magnet. It was me. Age maybe 16. Standing in front of a Starbucks. Hoodie. Backpack. But I never went there as a teenager. I hated coffee back then. Still do. On the back of the photo, in my mom's handwriting, it said, Eli's favorite place. I asked her where she got it. She frowned. You gave it to me. After the funeral. I asked her whose funeral. She stared at me for a long time before answering. Yours. I left before she could say anything else. That night, I went back to the Echo Index one last time. Not to search, to ask a question. Who is using my face? The response came instantly. You are. The screen split into 2 live feeds. On the left, me, sitting at my desk, hands shaking over the keyboard. On the right, me, standing in a Starbucks bathroom, staring into a mirror, holding a phone at arm's length. I smiled, and for the first time, he looked straight into the camera and spoke clearly. You're the one who stopped, he said. I kept going. Behind him, on the bathroom door, were carved names. Dozens, maybe hundreds, all scratch deep, overlapping. Every single one was my name. The feed cut to black. My laptop shut off, and my phone buzzed with a single message from an unknown number. Your turn is coming back. I'm writing this from a public library now. No cameras near my screen. No mirrors in front of me. I can feel them when I stop moving. Like pressure behind my eyes. Like someone waiting patiently in my skin. People keep glancing at me. Like they recognize me from somewhere. Like they're trying to remember why they're afraid. If this account goes silent, don't look for updates. Don't search my name. Because if you find the version of me that didn't stop, he might find you too. I found the place where I was made. I stopped trying to prove I was real. That's the first thing that breaks inside you. Not fear. Fear is loud, panicked, burning. This was quieter, colder. The understanding that reality doesn't need your permission to rearrange itself. That somewhere along the way, the world decided there were 2 of me, and it didn't care which one survived. I shaved my head in a public restroom at a gas station off We-70. Not as a disguise, more like an experiment. I needed to see if changing myself changed him. Hair fell into the sink in clumps. I watched my reflection the whole time, waiting for it to lag. blink wrong, to smile when I didn't. Nothing happened. An hour later, my phone, burner, new number, buzzed. A photo. Me, bald, taken from behind. The gas station logo visible through the window. Caption, "You look lighter." That's when I realized he wasn't copying me. I was copying him. I stopped using my name, stopped answering when people said it. I slept in places that didn't feel human. Bus terminals, hospital waiting rooms, an underground parking garage beneath the closed mall. Places where time didn't move right. Places cameras watched constantly, but never remembered. I started noticing patterns. Everywhere I went, there were little gaps, missing seconds, conversations where people responded to things I hadn't said yet, cashiers who handed me receipts already folded, like they'd done it 100 times before. At a McDonald's near the airport, the self-order kiosk greeted me with, "Welcome back, Eli." I'd never been there. The receipt printed with a timestamp from tomorrow. I went looking for death records, not online, offline, county offices, church basements, places with dust and filing cabinets, and people who didn't ask why your hands were shaking. It took 3 days before I found it. A coroner's report from 2019. Different state, different city. Cause of death, blunt force, trauma. Location found, service tunnel behind a closed theme park attraction. Name, mine. Photo attached. It was me. Not similar. Not could be. It was my face, slack and wrong, eyes half open, like I'd been interrupted mid-thought. The time of death was listed as 11:58 p.m. Time of discovery, 12:01 a.m. 3 minutes. 3 minutes unaccounted for. I went to the park. It's one of those places that still smells like sugar and grease even after closing. Bright colors peeling under the sun. Mascots locked behind doors, their smiles frozen in the dark. The kind of place kids scream with joy during the day and adults avoid eye contact with at night. I slipped in during a staff shift change. Nobody stopped me. Nobody looked at me twice. The service tunnels underneath were worse than I imagined. Concrete corridors stretching forever. Pipes dripping. Old posters warning about fire exits and evacuation procedures from decades ago. I followed the map from the coroner's report. Turned left at the utility room. Down the ramp. Past the door marked characters only. That's where I found the room. No cameras, no signage. Just a metal door slightly ajar. Inside, the walls were covered in photos. Thousands of them. Me at different ages. Me crying. Me asleep. Me laughing with strangers I didn't know. Me standing over things the camera never showed clearly. Only my posture. Only my hands. Dates scribbled in Sharpie. Some dates were in the future. In the center of the room was a chair bolted to the floor, and on the wall in front of it, carved deep into the concrete, "You were supposed to stay dead." I don't remember sitting down. I remember the smell first. Old sweat, copper, plastic. Then the voice, not from behind me, from inside my head, like a memory replaying itself wrong. "You didn't finish," it said. Calm, almost gentle. "You panicked." The lights flicked on. He stepped out from the shadows. Up close, the differences were subtle. His eyes were steadier, his movements economical, like he never wasted energy. There were scars on his hands mine didn't have. Thin white lines crossing the knuckles. He crouched in front of me, studying my face like a craftsman inspecting a cracked mold. "I died so you could keep going," he said. "That was the deal." I asked him what deal. He smiled. "Just a little. The one you made when you realized you couldn't live with what you'd done. I don't know how long we talked. Time didn't behave in that room. My watch spun backward. My phone battery drained and refilled without being plugged in. He told me things I didn't remember doing, places I'd been when I thought I was asleep, people who'd followed me because I let them, mistakes I'd buried so deep they'd grown teeth. He didn't deny the deaths. He framed them as maintenance. You split, he said. You left me holding everything you couldn't stand. I kept the body moving, kept the story clean. You got to be normal. He leaned closer, and then you got curious. When I woke up, I was outside the park. Morning sun, kids lining up at the gates, laughter, balloons. My head was shaved on one side now. Something was carved into my scalp, not deep, just enough to sting. 3 letters, a date, and underneath it, a question, ready to switch back. I don't know which of us left that room. I don't know which one is writing this, but people have started thanking me for things I don't remember helping them with. And every night, I dream of that chair, empty, waiting. My memories were never mine. They were leftovers. There's a sound the body makes when you cut through a part it doesn't want to give up. It's not a scream. It's not a snap. It's a peel, like wet paper ripping off meat. I heard it for the first time 2 weeks ago, and I haven't heard silence since. It started when I tried to burn the photos. I went back to that room under the theme park 3 nights after I left it. I told myself it was for closure, that if I destroyed everything, every picture, every record, he'd stop existing, that I'd reclaim my life and lock the door behind me. I brought a jerry can of gasoline I stole from a closed gas station. I dragged the photos into the middle of the room in a black garbage bag, and I lit the match. The fire didn't scream. The photos did. Not with sound, with light. Every single image caught flame and burned in reverse, faces melting into blank white sheets, like someone hit undo on the past, until only one photo remained untouched even as the flame licked around it. It curled at the corners but wouldn't blacken. I picked it up. It was a close-up of my face, except my skin was peeled back on one side, skull half exposed, teeth smiling, and in the blackness of my ruined eye, I could see a reflection of someone holding the camera, but the hands weren't mine. There were notebooks underneath the pile. I didn't see them before. I swear they weren't there the first time. Bound in skin, yes, real skin, human, freckled, and stitched with what looked like catgut. The pages inside weren't written. They were etched, razor-thin engravings that you could only read by angling the paper into the light. The writing wasn't in English. It wasn't in any language I knew. But when I read it, I understood. I remembered. And that's when I realized the truth. He wasn't copying me. I wasn't copying him. We were splinters from something older than the dark web, older than the internet, older than names, something that keeps itself alive by shedding identities like skin. Back in 2019, I think the first version of me didn't just die. I think he offered himself a trade, the knowledge, the safety, the power to vanish. All it asked for in return was to keep the shape. That's why he smiled when he died. That's why the death certificate said trauma, but not murder. You can't murder a thing that asks to stop being human. Now that I know, the world is different. Certain things glow when I pass them now. Screens, phone cameras, rearview mirrors. They ripple for half a second, like water disturbed by a face rising underneath. I walk past people and they forget me as I pass. I say my name and people tilt their heads like it's wrong, like I pronounced something backwards. And sometimes he still shows up, but it's not the same. He doesn't follow anymore. He waits. A week ago, I found an address written in the margins of one of the notebooks. No name, no instructions, just a single phrase. If you're still you by the time you get here, it's already too late. The address was in Berlin. I flew there under a passport with a face that didn't quite match mine. No one stopped me. I don't think they saw me. The building was an old butcher's shop, closed since the 80s. Metal door rusted shut. Basement window open just enough. Inside, the air was thick like soup. It smelled like rusted hooks and bleach left out too long. In the back room, under a bloodstained tarp, I found a mask. Rubber. Lifelike. Too lifelike. Veins under the cheeks. Eyelashes. Moles. It was my face. Under it was a letter. Handwritten. Not by me. Not by him. But the handwriting was mine. You're not supposed to remember this much. But if you made it here, then part of you is still clean. Don't waste it. There are others now. I made more. Too many. They don't know they're copies. They just keep waking up in borrowed lives and asking why the world doesn't fit. You can find them. You can fix it. But you'll need to do what I couldn't. You'll need to start over. From inside. The wall behind the letter had a symbol carved into it. A circle. A key. An eye. A mouth with no teeth. My fingers moved before I told them to. Traced the lines. Pressed the center. The wall opened. Not like a secret passage. Not with hinges. Like skin splitting open along an old scar. Behind it was a chair. And strapped to that chair was another me. Mouth sewn shut. Eyes wide open. Chest rising and falling. Still breathing. Still alive. There was a tray next to the chair. Scalpel. Bone saw. Camera. Syringes labeled in that same carved language. There was no question about what I was supposed to do. I knew before I moved. He opened his mouth. Not with words. With sound. That wet peel again. The sound the body makes when it stops pretending it wants to be alive. I filmed the whole thing. It wasn't murder. It was maintenance. I uploaded the footage to a server hidden in a subnet, only accessible through a 40-digit key burned into the back of the rubber mask. I titled the file, How to Remember Who You Were Before You Gave Up. And then I left. Not the building. The body. That was 4 days ago. I'm not using fingers to type this. Not really. I'm dictating through someone else. Someone who woke up in a motel room this morning, found a laptop with this document open, and felt compelled to keep writing. Maybe it's you. Maybe it'll be your hands finishing the story. Just look at them. Go on. Are they shaking? Do you remember what you did last night? Do you remember when you started reading? You should, because if you've gotten this far, then the thing that made me has already touched you. There is a moment, right before something ends, where the world feels polite. That's the only word for it. Polite enough to let you breathe. Polite enough to let you think you still have a choice. Polite enough to not scream while it sharpens the blade behind its back. That's where I am now. I stopped using language the way people do. Words feel decorative, optional. The thing that speaks through me doesn't need them, but it understands their usefulness. Stories are containers. You can put things inside them, hide them, pass them hand to hand without anyone realizing they're carrying something alive. That's what this is. Not a confession, not a warning. a transfer. After Berlin, I stopped seeing reflections, not because they were gone, because they were finished. Mirrors went dull, cameras lost interest, screens stopped rippling when I passed. I could walk through crowds and not leave static anymore. That's how I knew the number was finally balanced. No extroversions bleeding through, no echoes asking to be named. Just one shape again. Me, or what wears me now. I went back online for the last time through a network that doesn't exist anymore. Not Tor, not anything searchable. Something older and simpler. A place built when the internet still felt like a basement, unfinished, damp, forgotten. There were already people waiting. You'd recognize them if you saw them. The ones who stare too long at surveillance monitors. The ones who collect missing person cases like trading cards. The ones who swear a face followed them across platforms. They call themselves archivists. They think they're saving things. They aren't. They're feeding it. I uploaded everything. Not the videos, not the photos. Those were never the point. I uploaded the pattern. The way a person fractures when they can't live with themselves. The way guilt creates space. The way identity becomes a wound that something else can crawl into. The upload took 6 minutes. During that time, my heart stopped twice. It restarted on its own. When it was done, the site asked me one last question. No prompt, no cursor, just text. Do you want to remember who you were? I didn't hesitate. I typed no, and something, let go. The memories didn't vanish. They rearranged. They slid out of order like broken teeth. I can see them if I try, but they don't belong to me anymore. They're like photographs someone else left in my head by mistake. What replaced them is quieter, cleaner, hungrier. I live normally now. That's the worst part. I have a job, friends, a phone with a face ID that unlocks every time. I laugh at things I don't find funny because that's what people do. I stand in line. I wait for coffee. I hold doors. No one looks at me twice. But sometimes, rarely, I notice someone looking at me the way I used to look at screens, with recognition that hasn't formed yet, with fear they can't name, with that question building behind their eyes. Why does my life feel slightly out of sync? That's when I know. They're close. Close to splitting. Close to searching. Close to finding the wrong corner of the internet and asking the wrong question for the right reason. That's when the story reaches out. Not this account. Not these words. The idea. The itch. The need to know. You didn't choose to read this. Not really. You followed a thread. You leaned in. You wanted to see how bad it would get. That's how it always starts. Curiosity sharpens the crack. Attention widens it. And now the story knows the shape of you. It knows how long you stayed. It knows which parts made your chest tighten. It knows whether you checked behind you. It knows whether you smiled at the wrong parts. I won't tell you to log off. I won't tell you to forget. That would be rude. Instead, I'll tell you this. If tonight you dream of places you've never been, if you wake up with proof you can't explain, if a screen shows you something familiar that shouldn't exist, don't search, don't ask, don't try to track it, because the moment you decide to hunt what's following you, you've already agreed to carry it, and it loves new faces. I'm done now. This account will go inactive. This story will drift. People will argue whether it was real. That's fine. That's how it survives. And somewhere, not far from where you're sitting right now, something is checking to see if you finished reading.